And so that's what we're being told now is like, you can't train the military. I go, watch us. We're going to do it from the beginning. We're going to hatch a whole bunch of little minions in the military, and they're going to be bigger, faster, stronger, and smarter and more compassionate than me 20 years before me.
If you are a high achiever, today's topic is going to hit home for you. Almost every person who comes to me for help or coaching is looking to optimize their performance. For some, that means doing more. For others who are already doing multiple things, this means being better organized so you're not chasing your tail and running around like a madman. No matter what the end goal looks like, I'm always helping high achievers, C-suite leaders, business owners, athletes learn how to protect what I call your bandwidth. Now, it's just like internet bandwidth at home. The more things you have going on, the more you can kind of overcrowd the performance and slow down how things are going. It's the amount of stuff that you can handle in any given day. And this practice amounts to something, basically we could call it time and energy management. And it's crucial for you to master if you want to show up and give your best to your work, to your team, your kids, your spouse, and all the other commitments that you have. Simply put, you can't give what you don't have. And if you're a typical high achiever, you're probably very used to grinding, running on empty, and toughing it out. And don't get me wrong, this is an incredibly valuable skill to develop if you're going to achieve anything beyond average in your life. But it's not sustainable. The trick is to learn how to turn the switch off, to downregulate when possible, to learn how to be still, to be okay just sitting or just being. Most high performers struggle with this. And the paradox is the higher you climb on an org chart, a leader, a coach, owner, CEO, the more your highest value activities are actually those that require time and space to think strategically. You can't do that if you're constantly untangling a pile of wire coat hangers in your head, trying to figure out what to do and where to be next. So here's my favorite trick. Think about your cell phone battery. Most people know exactly what the status is of their cell phone battery. In fact, they know that better than they know their own energy levels, emotionally, physically, whatever. So I want you to start thinking about the same way you would think about topping off your cell phone battery. You sneak away, you plug it in, you get a charge, whatever you need to do to make sure it can get to the end of the day without dying. Do the same for yourself. Start looking for ways to top off and protect your own bandwidth. Maybe it's a 5-minute nap. Maybe it's breath work on the walk to the restroom at the office. Maybe it's taking your call on headphones and getting a walk outside and instead of spending your 4th straight hour on Zoom. Maybe it's writing in silence or debriefing after a call with your partner if you're in the fire department or the police, instead of slamming another energy drink and cranking heavy metal music between calls. The point is, these opportunities are everywhere once you understand the importance of preserving your bandwidth and you start looking for these little windows to downregulate. It all starts with awareness. Awareness creates choice. Our guest today on Move the Change podcast is my friend Jeff Nichols and Katherine Grimm. Hi, Katherine and Jeff.
Yeah, Ryan, how are you doing? Katherine to step out on a phone call, but I'll bring her back in a minute. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get to it, the big move and everything. She's can be distracted. So yeah.
Yep. So Jeff is a retired Navy SEAL. He was head of human performance for all of NSW, Naval Special Warfare. In other words, he designed the training protocols for the world's elite warriors. Now he prepares the next generation of warriors, along with Katherine, through their gym and their company, Performance First. Jeff knows how to build physical and mental resilience. He knows the importance of moving the chains, and he knows the importance of protecting our bandwidth. The recovery side of being an elite operator, athlete, or business leader. Jeff, welcome to the show. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Yeah. I appreciate you having me back on. It's been a minute since we've done this, but thankfully, we've been in contact, even aside from the podcast. So that's all. But it's also I think the podcast and things like that, it really highlights the good parts of social media. It's a really good excuse to catch up with friends now. After you've been doing it for a while, that's kind of it's a good excuse. It's a fantastic one.
It is. And I think we've talked about this in person. I always struggle with that where I always want to talk to you and other friends that we have like you guys. And it's just, sometimes I feel guilty about having those conversations on a podcast and just instead of saying like, hey, let's go grab dinner or let's grab a workout and let's hang out. And it's good to be able to do both.
Yeah. Like like we met probably like I think for a lot of people, like there's a hustle, and then that hustle becomes like, hey, this is my passion. And then you realize you're like, you get busy for different reasons. It's not the hustle. You're like, I'm busy because I'm trying to refine my craft. And then I think at some point, and maybe we get to enjoy that. Like that's where it starts to feel like a little bit. And maybe that's where we create the space that you're talking about, you know? So that's what I feel like. Cause it's like, you just bought your acreage. We're finally going to get a move to ours here in a few months. So it's like, that's like, why? Like people are like, why would you buy that much land? And you're like, down regulation. And that's like your friends. Cause they understand like, yeah, yeah. Okay. Like that's the circle you keep. You understand the words like down regulation. So it's a trip.
Yeah. It
My
really
wife
is.
too. Hey, Catherine, come here, sweetie. You're on too. I know I told him you had to step up for a phone call.
Oh, geez.
But my point was like, yeah, the trick was like
Hi, Ryan.
learning
Hey, Catherine.
regulation, but we're just catching up. Like that, we started. So,
Okay. Good to see you, Ryan.
Good to see you too, Catherine. So, Jeff, maybe share with us where that idea of downregulation first, like maybe where you got exposed to it first, and how that's been a journey for you.
Oh man, okay, because like for me, like downregulation for sure. Like I appreciate that the intro is fantastic because you're like the one piece I know that's like the intro can't include everything. I'm like it's. What I wanted to say about downregulation before I even go on to it is like, it's not a continuum. Like it's going to change and evolve, and things that may have downregulated at one point probably may not in the future. And that's kind of anyway, but when I first, and that's it. So that's to the point was like, my wife is here is so important. In the things that she's taught me downregulation, the far end of the spectrum of now, when it started was like probably Dr. John Sullivan. When he was with the Patriots and at Providence University, and his book just came out to enter. Like, but I'm just like, I was just like his second book, and I was like, I think he's probably because it was he was the first person that pointed out to me the actual impact of like like someone's like, hey, go get your blood work. I'm like, your blood's fine. Like, but when you have a specialist reading, you're like, oh my gosh, your blood is not fine, right? If you're trying to be optimal. Same thing when it's talking about your brain. You're like, oh, your EEG's fine. Like, or like, hey man, like, how's your sleep? How these things? And they're like, this is like, and it becomes when you have a trained eye and a trained professional, it's way different. So going from that initial, like what it was, downregulation for me started with an education of like, what does that freaking mean? Now it's like, I'm trying to find different tools to downregulate. And largely one of them is like, you definitely throw in the world of meditation, but it becomes, that's also like there's a million things to say. The meditation is just such a complex thing potentially, but then it's like when you have a vessel that can teach you the same thing, like Dr. Sullivan taught me, there's an education point to that. Catherine taught me meditation to that same sense of education. Like I had the sense I needed to meditate and be still and be quiet and all these things, but I didn't know how. But when you have a good teacher, I think that's to be like a high performer. Downregulation is super important, but you need to find someone to teach you how you do. And my wife is so close to me that she knows how to help me understand me, I guess, if that makes sense, especially in downregulation. Because, once I do calm down or once I'm whatever, she has a very good ability to go, this is what's going on and what triggered you or this, that, or I can't hide from that sort of reflection.
I've got a question for you, Catherine. So as Jeff is walking through that answer, something that stands out to me, and I'm curious if you find this is what I'm about to say maybe a one-off for Jeff and me, or is this a trend for what we would think of as like high achievers? But initially, there's a need to see the data, right? Jeff, you said like it was, you saw it in your blood work, you saw it in brain scans. You see this concrete data that you can't argue with, right?
And if someone could articulate that.
Right. And that's sort of the entry point on that path. And as you pointed out, it's a very long continuum, and you're very far down at this point. But as you get further down, maybe you don't need the objective data as much, and you can start to learn the subjective kind of feels and sort of navigate it. Like, I guess, Katherine, do you find that that's true for a lot of high achievers? And if it is, how do you help them kind of transition through that journey?
Well, I think you guys you're spot on. Is like, whether it's performance in the gym, you know how something is supposed to feel, or if it's performance when you're, if you're doing a guided meditation, you do have an understanding of what that kind of, we'll call it consciousness, or that kind of being feels like. And I think also for a lot of high achievers, allowing yourself to feel is also a challenge. So using meditation like a tool to feel, as an entry point to feel, is also a really good way to be in the moment and get some real feedback in real time.
Right, especially when you realize and understand what they mean by it's a practice. Mm-hmm. And you're like, there's a lot of sensory things that, my gosh, there's a lot of sensory functions that we take for granted, right? When you really do sit.
There's so much data on breathing exercises, much data on meditation practices, but it's a matter of also actually doing it. A lot of people, I think, tend to talk about it and really have the idea, I understand this. But again, if we kind of compare it back into the gym, it's like, you can't think your way through squats. You actually have to do them to see results. Same with meditation or breathing practices. Conceptually, it might be easy for some people. It really might be. Breathing exercises might come naturally to some people, but it isn't going to do you any good to sit and think about it. You really have to put it into a consistent practice. And whether it's Jeff sitting and practicing in stillness, or whether it's him in the backyard in bare feet and doing walking meditation in the backyard with himself. There has to be some sort of consistency in practice, whether it's a few different things or not.
Yeah, what I learned from her is, like, in the end, hopefully we don't need to create distraction. But if your distraction, either I'm going to get on my phone and get irritated by social media, or I'm going to go walk barefoot in my backyard and go pick up Great Dane poops. I'm going to do the Great Dane poop picking up, because I know that one of the two is going to make me forget about anything that may or may not be serving me emotionally, which is common here. So I recognize that the common thread in all of this is me.
You say that so eloquently. You basically just said, I'd rather pick up dog shit than look at social media.
It's a weird thing, because I know, like,
I'm right there with you.
Done right, there's value. I know we have impacted people and connected in ways that we wouldn't be able to didn't have this technology. But
right.
I think that's the thing, right? We're the first generation and so on are the ones that first have to manage this. So what this is all new for everyone, man. This is like Star Trek for everyone. No one has ever lived, like, I've had a phone since I was X. Mm-hmm. Like, whatever, like I've had it for 20 years, whatever it might be. It's like, I'm just now learning, we're just now understanding and thinking, maybe, just maybe, it may be skewing our perception of what's important and what a reality really is. And it's like, what does that mean? There's so much deep in context. And I think that that's hard. Like we have, it's like watching superhero movies now compared to the 80s. You're like, oh my God, Superman's amazing then. Now they're spectacular. Because of this media, there's never been a platform in which we can be excruciatingly tactically precise with our words. And maybe, just maybe, we change somebody. Because in the same way that Mozart or Rembrandt, like, maybe we do impact enough people to change them just through the right word. But then it's like, okay, I heard this thing. Then it's a reference with action. So does this person's right word reflect their right action? And does your social media reflect your right action? And I think consistency is the way that we try to trend.
There's so much good stuff in what you guys have said. I'm trying to figure out the best way to go. I think one of the things you mentioned a minute ago, Jeff, was that whatever, let's call it a tool, whatever tool you may use now or even today to help downregulate might not always work. It's one of the reasons that I always advise people to build their toolbox as big as possible so that you have as many of these to go to. Can you talk about how you have, I guess maybe a little bit on what you guys do with Performance First, but then how do you help this next generation experiment with these tools so that they can get comfortable with them and then, own them in their own toolbox?
I think that's where we're super lucky because I get to work with my wife and we get to forgive the vernacular, but we get to ping pong these athletes between what they need, because some of them need more of a maternal sort of correction. Some need more fraternal, and it's not we're not trying to evaluate these people. We just mean some guys are geared more towards me, and some guys are geared more towards trying to sit back and be a wallflower and still learn just as well. And so I gotta, that's the first step. Don't take it personal how these guys learn, figure it out how they learn. And so that's kind of first step. I really we've refined that kind of step one. What's the thing that we would review afterwards? Come from the business world at the end of every class or before going to the next class, you would go over an acronym.
SWOT, just a SWOT analysis or whatever at the end. But I also, Ryan, giving some of these guys tools to use and try. I do a variety of different meditations. We'll do body scans. We'll work on compassion. We work on gratitude. Gosh, there's a few other meditations that we do. Yeah, rain practice. But I want to give these guys a variety of things to do while they're with us, and then I give them homework, in the evenings to do at the house too. But I want them to have a variety, even just within meditation itself. Just try it. So many people have such misconceptions about it. And to me, I know, and some teachers would probably say, stick with one way. You have to stay with it for a long time for it to work. That's also true. But I'm also an advocate of people trying different things and trying to figure out what works for you, what made you feel that release of letting go of time for a couple minutes, or you forgot about it. You were just in the moment, whatever that feels are, and I think letting these guys try a variety of things really gives them an opportunity to find some things that potentially stick. And on top of the meditation, we also do, breathing exercises, specific actual breathing exercises, not just meditation, So I think it's just kind of working on some of those tools, like you said, to broaden their toolbox, to give them some things even within the tool of meditation itself.
Right, because it's about the experience that creates a habit through behavior. That, if we can't do that, then we're really wasting time. And so it's set up to be that from an actual biological learning experience. And it's also meant to be from a physiological learning experience or adaptation experience. Mm-hmm. And so with those experiences, it's if anyone's spent any minutes in the college or pro setting, in the training room, in the weight room is where that's where all the gossip, all of this. And it's because there's a lot of emotion and discomfort and pain that pours out in those two places. And in doing so, people get very open. And we experience much of the same because these guys not only experience that discomfort, but we hold them to the absolute highest possible biological standard and also from a biomechanics standard. And we put them in the practice. You're not just here to reps. This is and it's not an experience. It's you are showing up you're trying to get an A in this class, not to negate what you've learned and brought in, because that has value. But we might teach a little bit different blend of calculus that doesn't detract from your calculus you learned coming in, figuratively, right? And so we hold them to very, very high standard, and we show them as a group how much more can be accomplished when they work together. All these sort of things that we don't ever advertise, but because the experience isn't what you're coming for, because we've sent people home. We sent someone home in the middle of our last class because he was there for the experience. We refunded him and sent him home. You know what? We could have kept his money and you know what? No, you don't belong here, son. And so we're going to give you your money back. You're going to go home. And he did. That's the truth, because I nor my wife will ever take money before it ever comes to holding to a standard and then diluting that standard with the person or persons that are there to kind of just take part in it, instead of like, my point with all this rambling is that there is nothing more intense than people willing to go train to potentially sacrifice their life for this country. And there is no weight room in the country I've ever been in that's more sincerely intense. I've been in loud, violent, angry weight rooms. And those are awesome for the conditions and the culture that it was trying to facilitate. But as loud as I'm talking to you right now is about as loud as I talk to these men. Because if I need to get your attention, then you're in the wrong place. I treat it like a range, and she treats it like basically a Buddhist temple. And so it works out really, really good. It does. It's magic. So there's a lot that they learn, and it's important, from breath work to biomechanics to what does breathing mean in a pool versus when I'm running. We bring in the best running coach in the world, I think, honestly, and Joel Smith. Like I'll put that statement out there. I'll challenge anybody in the world to be better than Joel Smith. Right. And so we are blessed to bring him in from Cincinnati, Ohio, with every class. And my God, like, there are very few people in this world I would personally pay to write me programming. He is definitely one of them. He's the top of the list. So we recognize our limits. That's the other thing. And we find our limitations and things we can't do. We bring other people in that don't have those limitations. And so I think that that's really, really important about the down regulation too, is that you're going to be bouncing around. And I think that that's the best advice I give to people is like, you might find prayer to down regulate you, meditation down regulate you, sometimes reading comic books down regulate you, something like that. Just those are collections of tools that then like, that's I think that is when we get anxious, angry, whatever it is, like our heart is hurt, something like we manifest some of those emotions. And like, if we know, like last night, I read some of my comic books and my Batman, because like, you know what? You know who always tells the truth and always wins? Superman and Batman, man. Like it just realigns my spirit in the same way that reading the Bible does sometimes. But sometimes the Bible isn't the pulpit that I seek. Sometimes it is the garden. Sometimes it is the Bible. Sometimes it is the Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes it is. I think what for me is I'm just so thankful that I have those tools now. Like before it was just Hulk smash.
So you're leading me to the next question I wanted to ask perfectly. But before we do that, I think just to highlight again, I think it's so valuable that you're discussing or highlighting that we have choices in how we can spend our time, right? And it's so easy for most people now to choose distraction. You can check out. I think Mark Cuban, he has this great line. He invested in some TV thing a couple of years ago, and somebody told him he was stupid. TV was going away. And he said, it'll never go away. It may change its shape or it may evolve, but it is the path of least resistance. He said, it's easier to sit on the couch and turn the TV on than it is to sit on the couch and not turn the TV on. Mm-hmm. And that was such an eye-opening statement. And the way you're articulating this, Jeff, is so beautiful, because it's not about bad-mouthing social media or TV or whatever, but it's about identifying that we're making a choice with how we spend our time. And you're consciously choosing something that is energizing you or realigning you or aligning you with something that you want to be aligned with, rather than just checking out and saying like, hey, feed me whatever. And then you talk about the importance of equipping these young men. Can you touch on the importance of getting them these tools on the front end? I think like you and most of the people that you served with probably found these things either during or after, right? How much?
Like I'll let her go first. Like I just articulate it very simply. Like, we in sport, it's children. Like we get to play it and try it and see if we like it. I mean, people don't get to dip their toe in the military. So I think it's appropriate that we equip them, educate them first, instead of just like throw them into the wild. I think that that's kind of the point we're trying to get to.
think before I kind of answer this more in depth, I think one of the biggest misconceptions about meditation or breath work or things like that is it's going to make somebody soft, and going into this job, you can't be soft, or you can't let your guard down. And that's not what this does. These tools actually allow a warrior to sharpen the tools even more. And it allows that person to understand how to be in control of reactions rather than, have an emotional reaction, or also get caught in the fight or flight and you can't react. So having some of that self-awareness going in will allow for a better soldier over longevity. They understand how to downregulate. They understand when it's useful. They understand when something is not feeling right and should be at that point after something they've gone through on a mission, So having that tool going in, I also think would potentially save some lives on the way out. We lose, I don't know how many veterans to suicide based on not having the correct tools. I understand that there is help out there, but clearly it's not enough and potentially not the right kind of help. So Jeff and I really try to equip these guys, for lack of a better term, on the way in with these kinds of tools to become a better warrior.
Because here's the thing is, like, the model for what you're talking about, nobody on the planet does better than what you say than the military. To teach, learn, from, because people are like, hey, Jeff, should I learn to shoot or do these things before I go in the military? I'm like, no, go in with an open mind, because you'll be taught in the right environment with the people that actually did it, as opposed to the ones that like I have my own way. It's like, no, we have to be a way, because there has to be a point of understanding for everyone. It's the safest, most ethical thing. And so because that linear learning with a group of people, especially in special forces, is like no one's there by happenstance. And because you have a population that is purely voluntary with really no incentive, other than there's some deep-rooted moral sort of obligation that they cannot explain. But what if you teach them to explain that, understand that, and go into battle and to fight and go like, wow, contextually, because every person that becomes more aware doesn't become less empathetic to their self as a warrior. It's wild. It's like, I am so much more violent and aggressive, and because I'm more precisely capable, because I'm more aware. It's wild. It's really weird. The old man strength. It's like, whoa, but there's the, I don't know what it is, right? There's a sense of expertise that happens. It's like what we were talking about before we got onto this, right? It's
wisdom, Ryan. It's probably a little bit of wisdom.
Get comfortable, because when you're on here, dude, you asked me a question. I'm not telling a story that I didn't experience 1,000 times, right? It's not like I just graduated college with an exercise science degree and never did a rep in my life. And I haven't done it. And I'm trying to teach you about leadership. It's like, no, man, I'm not a born leader, but I was born to experience what I did. And I was like, okay, now I've been gifted in a way to unpack it in the world of a passion that I have about strength conditioning is tied to people who want to serve this magnificent country. That's the gift. I was a really good baseball player in college. I deeply love that sport still because of, I don't know, man, God gifted me with something about it. But that transcended into a work ethic that stemmed from wrestling and then all these sort of things that manifest in the SEAL teams. I'm like, oh, wow, that was awesome. I was good at that. And it's like, but now as a coach, I'm like, this is way cooler. It's odd. This is way cooler. This is way, way cooler to see other little me's. But then my wife equips the list. You can just see this fire in these people. And you're like, whoa, man, I get that. And so as soon as my wife gets a hold of them, they're like, oh, they just turn into a flamethrower instead of just this burning, uncontrollable fucking blaze. And then they stick with her and they get through selection and they're just fucking cutting steel, man. They're just hey, man, she just knows how to just harness the fire because she's not scared of it. She was born in it, that's a whole other story. But my wife is why. So to answer all of this is all these tools, no kidding, all the tools. And you get this, Ryan, at some point, man, like if you're blessed enough to meet your like best friend and marry her or him or whatever that might be, like, I don't care, whatever it is, man, like that. And then it's like, you get to work next to her and not want to kill her. It's like, this is wild. Like we're able to articulate. And so that's the down regulation. That's my point, is all of this is amazing, but I get to share this with my wife and then bounce this madness off her. And she's like, that's not craziness, because I go through that too. That's the ticket.
It's really cool you guys get to do this together. As you're talking through the awareness and how it has a way of heightening and sharpening and these young guys, the word that comes to my mind is connection. Right? The more you investigate something, the more you articulate it, the more you explore it, the more you're able to connect with, your values. And you said your passion comes through. I mean, I don't know if that sparks anything, but that was the word that came into my mind as you guys were talking through that. Anything, Katherine, you want to add to what Jeff said there?
I mean, I appreciate all the kindness. I mean, I do feel like there something that's really missing with men and women going into the military, or if it's fire or police or whatever it are these kind of tools, right? And it doesn't have to be just meditation, but the down regulation tools in general, whether, you guys named so many of them already, whether it's the sauna, which Jeff and I really love, or like float tanks, or, really, really finding ways that work for you. And also, if you want to talk about connection, when you find something that works, it deepens that mind-body connection. It allows for you to be more self-aware. It allows you to actually have a chance to feel your breath and slow down enough to feel your heart rate, because when you have a chance to slow down, a lot of times you can feel how out of sync you really are. We just actually have to block off some time to do that. And that's the part that we miss. We can talk about it all the time, but people don't actually put it into their daily living. And when we do have social media, when we do have technology that is so fast, unfortunately now we do have to have time cut out to down regulate from just the things that we see, and it didn't used to be that way. We didn't have this like instant answer, instant gratification, or instant triggering, whatever the message is. Now people seek it out just to feel something, and then we have to then undo what they're seeing or feeling. And it's a really bad cycle. So finding tools that work for you, that don't, that you're obviously not on your social media, not on your phone, not on technology, really getting back down to being human and really truly being, not the doing, is the part that we miss. And it's a part that is, to me, just as important as any other type of education, whether it's, learning like in a school or your mental education or whatever it is. This is a huge part of being human that needs to be explored.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, you've said in one of your videos that Buds was easy. And I don't want to jinx it. You guys have, at least the last time we talked, almost 100% or 100% success rate with all of your guys who have gone through your program.
As far as getting contracts, yes. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Do you feel like what we've been talking about so far is the most important aspect in that success rate, or is there something else that you guys are doing to enable that level of success?
I think it's a couple of things. I think first and foremost, I think the way that we coach and type the way that's perceived is pretty consistent to a degree. And then when they show up, there's levels to that we can give to them, because I think that number one, they tend to reflect us, and we're pretty sincere and pretty straightforward. So we tend to really not get a lot of people that are like kind of flighty about this. So like that, I think, so there's a part of that kind of helps, right? And then the other part of the success of it is that I think that because there's a real authenticity to so many levels of, they have so many questions, because like I said, like if for me, I was driven to play baseball my whole life. I practiced. When it failed, it failed. It was like, no more baseball. It's like when I want to be a Navy SEAL, it's like, what Where do I practice doing this? I didn't know that I spent my whole life doing it. Like being a catcher and a swimmer and all these wrestler and all these sort of things. Like I was built for this game, right? But I didn't know that. And so what we do is when we see these guys, we see not just through me, but now there's younger reflections of me that have some of the similar limitations that I had, either physically or emotionally, that she can peg right away. And so what we do is we tell them. I mean, I would straight up tell them, like, but in a way that finally is refined enough, in the way that we're on a range and I have a loaded firearm and like, hey man, like, please keep your finger off the trigger. You know, kind of like there's more to it now than just like challenging these guys. The challenge is, hey, this is our version of Kung Fu. Believe it or not, it's the best. So give us 6 weeks of effort, take it for what it is. And if you take the Pepsi challenge, I promise you, I can guarantee you, you will be in the top 1%. And every time we're right.
I think another thing too, Ryan, that helps with, the success rate is that these guys not only put in the effort and are willing, they're also not afraid to question why we're doing things a certain way, and it is going to take some of these younger generations and some people who do want to be a good husband or a good boyfriend, who do want to just fuel your body properly, who do want to go to bed at 9 o'clock because they have something going on the next day. It's these types of people who are the ones that are going to change, what actually is happening in the military at these top tier units. It's the ones that do want to just be a better human being, the ones that are more self-aware, that are going in, that are going to question authority when something doesn't feel right or seem right, whether it's training, nutrition, whatever it is. And that is what has to happen. And Jeff, I think, does a really good job of empowering those guys on the way in, of saying, like, if something's not right, stand up, say something, say something. It's only going to take enough of you for that to start to make change, and now we're kind of seeing that we've got, guys from every level, from going into buds all the way into screening, for the top tier units now. Yeah. So
imagine from a pure, like, even, no matter how you perceive this, if it wasn't Christ's 12 disciples, what if it was 1,200? And how would that, like, just genuinely, how would that impact? Right? Because that's what we see now. We see Christianity spread across the globe. And it's like, what are we trying to achieve? What if? Because we know that, like, in the context of sport, there are organizations that pay, that are like private pay, that have done a fantastic job, both winning and ethically training kids. And you see that in certain sports, in certain regions, there's real good ethical this and that. And you're like, wait a minute, like, what if there was a good ethical training pipeline for people that were really, first and foremost, wanted to absolutely challenge themselves to do it right? Like, really strip away and be surrounded finally by people, though, because this is what we always get. This is what's most fantastic about this. Never planned, but we knew it was coming, and it's magnificent. These guys that are authentically trying to go do this thing from all over the globe, right? We've gotten guys from Australia, but most of the United States, from all over, all walks of life, right? They show up, and all of their circle of friends and family are like, "You're fucking crazy. Like, what do you do this for?" And they're like, I want to do this as much as I love you, Mom. Like, I can't explain that to you, but it's a calling. And they're like, "You're crazy. You're crazy." And they show up here at this, the last 13 classes showed up in Virginia Beach, are like, "Holy crap, there's more of me." Like, whoa, like, holy moly. And I'm like, this is the tip of the iceberg, brother. You show up to Buzz, there's going to be 200 of you. And you're like, but really? It's like, no, there's 30 of you. You show on the team, there's another 50 of you. You show up to SEAL Team 6, there's 300 of you. You're like, holy, there we are. There's the dudes. Okay, let's go to fight. Like, there's a real sense of, like, you can do this, man. I grew up on a dirt road in Iowa, man, with less than 100 people. Like, there was a post office and gravel road where I grew up, man. And I just grew up because my mom and dad are awesome.
Yeah.
And this country gave me an opportunity to fight like hell for something that, like, I was told it was impossible to do. And so that's what we're being told now is like, you can't train the military. I go, watch us. We're going to do it from the beginning. We're going to hatch a whole bunch of little minions in the military, and they're going to be bigger, faster, stronger, and smarter and more compassionate than me 20 years before me. And let that manifest in fucking violence for 20 years and see what happens. You'll see love. That's what you'll see. You won't see violence on the back end of that. You'll see compassion. But you can't do it without planting the seed. But we can, someone greater than me will do it. But this is where I'm at in this continuum.
I love the passion, and you can tell how much it means to you to be able to help others. I mean, you said it earlier too, and I don't know. I just finished Deion Sanders' book. I don't know if you've seen that. He's got a new one out, and I love Deion, and he's got something in there where it's very similar, where he's like, I had a great career, or he had a great career. He's like, but it means more to him to be able to see other people succeed. And I mean, I don't have anywhere near a personal career in athletics or warfare like you, but as a coach, I know like it's so much cooler to see somebody else succeed or to help somebody succeed than anything that
especially if
I've
they're
ever done.
younger than you, right? And like maybe they came to you with the same static that you were able to relinquish. And that's what I'm saying. Like a Velcro deal, you're like, dude, this guy's from the same cut, like different place, but you're like, wow, okay, like. And I'm not reflectively like, get off me, man. It's not my responsibility. Like, I just got to come at it through the weight room now. I'm able to connect through that discomfort instead of like trying to fix them. They can fix themselves because now they're around a bunch of people that actually give a darn about them. That really has their best interest in mind. And it's foreign to some people.
It's really humbling, Ryan. It's really humbling. And it's such a big part of our purpose to see these guys when the light bulbs turn on, whether it's through movement or whether it's through meditation. But when you're really starting to see somebody put the pieces together and you know that they're gonna go or they're gonna be successful, it's so rewarding, and it does make you love what you do,
Yeah, that's really awesome. I want to ask you a couple of weight room questions, Jeff, because you are you said the thing about Joel and being one of the few people you would pay. You are one of the few people that I would pay for programming.
I appreciate it.
And I think you're also one of the few that I've come across in 20 years who talks about how you perform a rep. I know Cal Dietz does. I know Christian Thibodeau has, but specifically the turnaround point. Can you talk a little bit about why that is so important?
Because it's the most complex thing that you can sense with a bar in your hand is to be that aware of muscle actually contracting and muscle stabilizing when that muscle begins to lengthen again, or they switch roles to actually physically feel that is a freaking thrill to me. And someone's like, oh, yeah, no, you can't do that. It's like, no. I can literally see bullets go down range with my sniper rifle with my naked eye through a scope. Like I can see bullets. Like, so and I can react. Like they're and I'm not even well trained. Like people do magnificent things. You mean to tell me I can't feel my body that's built like truly in the great, like, God made, like it's like I'm in that reflection, like that's what I'm made, and I'm not supposed to like. So it seems so odd to me that humans can manifest such magnificent abilities, but when it comes to weight training, there's an end state to it. Like, no, I just like this. Hey, Jeff, you'll never be able to do these things. Cool, man. Like you're right, but here's the thing: is when you talk to the best athletes on the planet, and I've had the privilege of talking to Bryce Harper, Stephen Curry, LeBron James, Aaron Judge. I could get going on. And what do I ask them? I'm like, what's it like to be there? Like, do you have a mode that you can explain that when you know you are it? How do you express yourself? Like when I was with my 5 or 6 guys at a point in periods of time where we were most deadly humans on the planet, for 4 months at a time in Red Squadron, like that's weird, right? But to have like someone help you unpack that and go, hey, how can I have a conversation with Tom Brady and us not be like going, hey, we're a fan. But like, dude, like, how do you do this? And they go, I do it this way. And you're like, oh, because I spend almost every waking moment of my life trying not to die. Or in this case now, I'm trying to every waking moment. Listen, like whether I'm on the spectrum or something, I don't know. But like I really can't not think about this stuff because it seems disrespectful to our Creator to not explore the depth of our seeking ability. And when I clearly have a gift, and to shun that gift would be incredibly disrespectful to me, whatever term you want to put it. But like I don't feel like I should have survived what I did. I mean that literally. And I almost sought out my own demise a couple times, right? And to be on this side sometimes with the ability to share a little bit of like, you don't have to be an angry veteran when you get out, because if someone that loves you enough can give you the tools and the space, then I don't think that transition would be so dramatically tragic for so many that we have all labeled properly gifted or special or loving or man, how often do we help people that kill themselves that are like, man, that was one of the most generous dudes I knew. Like generosity is like, man, it's like a commodity that we've stopped putting value on, you know? And I think that that's what we do. There's a generosity to the gift. And we are so blessed to have people who recognize that gift to receive it. And that is why we get to do it. And then it's divine. It just like I was gifted to be able to go do the thing in the Navy, and my wife be able to meet her and like there and have a son that like throughout my time in the Navy that I, you know, gone so much, and now he's such a well-adjusted 18-year-old. God darn, man, he's amazing, my son. Like and to be able to have that relationship with him, like there's nothing better.
He's going to school in the fall, right? College.
Yeah. He got into. Yeah. I'm super proud. Yeah, he got into.
He's going to JMU.
I didn't know if we wanted to say it on the show, but yeah. That's awesome.
JMU, super excited. Yep. It's pretty cool to have. Mason's been staying with us for the last couple months pretty consistently, and it's been really cool to have him around. And it's been really nice to have him here often enough to see Jeff's relationship with him really develop. And I will say that Mason also loves the weight room, and that's really neat. And he kind of fell in love with it on his own, so it wasn't necessarily Jeff's influence, but
that's the irony, right? It's like he's going to go
to school for exercise science as well, which is
that's awesome.
Yeah,
and let him.
JMU's got a great program for that.
Right, it's beautiful. It's all those things that like, and that's what I mean. It's like I get to find it. That's what I'm saying. Like I worked my tail off when I was young. I got into a passion that like forged a career. Now I feel like I got to enjoy it, right, a little bit. Like my son's going off to college. Work is good. Work is healthy. I get to do it. It's kind of on our terms. And I think that's a big part too, is high achievers. I hope that when I see a high achiever with longevity, that's what at some point they figured out like, oh man, I have enough. And then when they have enough, they really thrive. They don't try to, I stopped the hustle, which I think was important for me. It was really important to hustle. That's kind of when I met you. It was like all over the place, right? Mm-hmm. And it was to whatever, that was what I was supposed to do. And now what I'm supposed to do is go on my farm in Alabama. Yep. Yeah. Yep. With my wife and my 2 Great Danes and whatever else, what I like have chickens and do the thing, right? And do that with passion and in the same zest for like I know that's what I was like, I'm going to have the healthiest chickens in Alabama.
That's why I'm laughing, because I know like,
my chicken.
It's kind of like, awesome. Dude, I know it's like, as you were saying earlier, when you get around certain people and you look around and you're like, okay, these are my people. Right. And like, I know, like I've got a handful of friends when they talk about standards and they use that word and they're holding people to standards. Like, I know you're one of those people that you can't have that high of a standard for some things and then just let it go for others. Like, I know everything you do is at the highest possible standard.
You'll see our chickens will have like pull-up bars and
oh man, they're so healthy, and but it's like, and then here's why is like our Great Dane, our oldest Great Dane is so healthy, and it's because she like has that sense about the animal, right? And so it's like you make that animal thrive, the environment is thriving. It's like, I get it. Like I get the garden. I get that space. I get, Virginia Beach really has served me well. It really has. And I have to say that, and I don't handle it well sometimes, but there is, and it ultimately that's me though, right? Ultimately it's me. So I think it's a combination between I'm excited to leave, but I'm also, it's like in the matter of blessings, we own our property already in Alabama. Like, it's not like we have to look for a home and it's like, it's livable. It's ready to, and then we're going to be able to build our, it's like, okay, it's like, what I have to like say that out loud in a podcast for me to like snap out of my own neurosis sometimes. Right. Truly. Like it's true. It's super true.
I mean, you get to, like you said, you get to have your acreage, you get your metaphorical and literal garden, but you also have the space to grow this program that you guys have, gotten such great traction with already. I mean, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. It's like we I think that there's aspects of our business. This might sound a little woo woo. They need to grow, but the energy, the hustle, like there's a real work hustle here that's vibrant for Virginia Beach. Mm-hmm. That vibration, that vibe, that hustle does not suit people that are about to shoot themselves out of a cannon. Like I don't mean that. Like, and here's the next level of our real business is like the language that we really speak is the one of you're there doing the job in the experience. And so the really magnificent thing is this is just like you tend to see in college sports. It's a little bit less because you have these specialty coaches, but you go into the draft, NFL draft, wherever, in the offseason, they go back to college and get workouts in and things like that. But in that seeing those pro athletes come back and be around those, there's a really amazing energy. And so we were a gym that like the class would be going on and we had like 3 or 4 real life SEALs in there working out. They're like, don't ask me, man. Ask those dudes. So we were the only gym that I'm aware of in the entire United States that, aside from like when we have you guys come in and the thing like that, but it's like the only people that are in there are special operators. And so being around that all the time, that authenticity, because that like you meet a pro football player or whatever it might be, and they're like flamboyant and fingernails painted, you're like, they're totally like, that's who they are, man. Like whatever, right? Or you meet someone extremely lovely like Rudy Reyes, like, whoa, like the most authentic human I've ever met. I love him. And then you start realizing like in so many ways, that's kind of what people are looking at. And it's really like, I'm consistent, right? And it shows us sort of like, this is who he is. But I actually get to know the guys a little bit better, which is good for me. Because you said it already early on, and like I remember actually scoffing at this. Not at you, but years past. I was at a Summer Strong, and it was like I'm butchering his name, like Ray Ferrugia. Jay, yes.
Ferrugia,
yeah. There we go. So God bless you, Jay. I remember you were up there. You were talking about relationships, and I was like, "That's fucking crazy guy." And I was like, "Now, man, that's it, man." Because that allows us to coach. And it allows us to get that trust that is really necessary to give these guys a real foundation that they can thrive in, because some of them don't realize how awesome they are. And that's unfortunate.
Is there something that you guys are doing intentionally to help build that trust?
For me, the big one was I stopped trying to be the best athlete and started trying to put that energy into coaching. So from class 1, although I coached my ass off, I still felt like I needed to be the physical example. And that was an ego trip. That was an ego thing for sure. So that's been the big thing for me is like, I recognize how much work so many of these guys do. So it's like, show me your squat before I try to fix it. And like, oftentimes it's just, they were just a little bit unaware, but it's like really, really, really coachable. And you're like, like don't spend 30 minutes trying to fix something that should take 3 reps once you see it.
Some of it, I think, is also reassurance, and some of it, I think, is just empowering the athlete, empowering the person to trust the process and trust themselves in this part of the process, and trust, you're going to do a job that you're going to be asked to be all in. There kind of isn't an option there, so you might as well start being all in your training. You're not going to look stupid for trying. You're going to look stupid for not trying. And you can tell, Ryan, I know you've been around some really good athletes and probably some not so good athletes. You know when somebody is all in on all the movement, and you know when somebody's half-assing the workout. We don't have time for the people in this environment to half-ass it, and that is why it does cost something to come and train with us for 6 weeks. But that is also why we expect the best, and we also bring the best when it comes to the coaches that we bring in or the supplements that we have the guys use. And it brings a lot of value to them to spend 6 weeks with us. It gives a person a chance to actually start a new habit if it hasn't been built at home. Yeah, around a bunch of people that have it's become this like, you can take back real everything. Rural Virginia Beach, but we've had some guys like class 7 class, like big shout out to some of those guys, like the classes that because this is where she really comes in, is like, she gives them homework and things that like, hey, you gotta write like a Dear John letter, man, or not a Dear John, like a, hey, like I'm not coming home letter type situation. And then we're gonna unpack that. And these guys get to know each other to a point where they're like, they're too cool for school week 1. But come week 3 and 4, like some of these dudes are like, they went through buds together. They're at the SEAL teams together. Like, no kidding, man. Like we've got multiple pairs, like 2, 3, 4 pairs of on the East and West Coast that went all through together. That's at cool. The teams now. And so like, we've got guys screening for the command that far in. So we're like, what we're seeing now is we're getting so much authentic, real time. I don't want to tell. I don't care where you're going. I don't want no missions. It's not. I don't need to know that. I need to know what because we help them establish effort, how to measure that, how to manage that, what's going on, how to articulate what they're feeling. Because all I just need to know is op tempo. Hey, on a scale of 1 to 3, what was your sleep? What was your diet? What'd you eat? These things, like, because they're going to speak our language. And so what ends up happening, they become E4, E5, E6s, speaking the same language for 3 to 5 years as an operator, grooming new guys. And every single team, every single year gets 3 or 4 people we've trained in person. So we just keep filling it up. Dude,
and that's, I mean, just to think about the trajectory of where that goes, that is so cool.
The turnover is crazy.
Massive impact that you guys are having.
And so like we're doing the point where guys are showing up at Buds. They already know 3 or 4 people. They're literally picking them up at the airport, transitioning them right through Buds. This is what to do. Here's the rules. Boom, boom, boom. And it's like, we are completely hands off. They create this internal network that's like self-soothing.
That's so cool. You said trust the process a minute ago, and we were talking about transitions a little bit, some earlier and some before we even hit record. One of the things that I want to give you guys and give the listener as well, there's a great book called Mastering Transitions. And one of the things that's in that book that has always stuck with me is this visual of a trapeze artist who has let go of the first bar and is in midair and hasn't quite made it to the second bar. And when I speak, I actually have a slide that there's a photo of that exact moment where the trapeze artist is in midair. And I guess the irony is that's like that split second for a trapeze artist, but depending on your transition, the length of time could be milliseconds or it could be months, could be years. But that moment where it's called the nowhere between two somewheres. And that's the moment where you're most likely to freak out, to flit and flail, to deviate from the plan. But it's also the moment where you most need to trust the plan, trust the process. And so, that's one that has helped me, and I know it's helped a lot of people So just wanted to share that, with you guys and with the listeners as well. But, maybe that's something that you can have as a visual as you go through your transition.
Sounds exactly where we're at, Ryan. And that sounds like a fantastic book.
Because these guys, like what happens is like, let's say 8 guys show up, 12 guys show up, and that's when we limit it is 12 is like 4 of them. You're like, absolutely. These guys are like, we're just being general here. Then you have 4 that are kind of the fence, 3 that are kind of like, just trying to sort it. But over time, you really get a sense of like who's in and not. Because when people are being honest around each other with real effort, whatever that might be. In our case, there's a physical effort. Like if they were coming to a job fair and they were accountants and it was like we were a high speed, different mental capacity, right? But the same sort of stress. And so what we've done, what we've structured really well is that what the military does extremely well. It instructs in a very objective, straightforward. There's some emotion for sure because of their experience, but it's really easy to teach people that learn objectively extremely well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like every coach wants to teach the elite, right? Every coach wants that, and the ones that get that are the ones that can be authentic long enough, build clientele, all the stuff that get through the traps and snares of business. But like we're at the point now where that's all we are finally, and it's because we're, like I said, we're through the hustle, business is good and things like that, and like our consistency has bred a real genuineness within our space, and that in the military trust, we're the most hard people to convince, the special operations, because we're skeptics and naturally. So building trust for guys like us, it has to start with consistency. And I think that's what I learned. That's how I learned to shoot, to skydive. And I learned from people I trust, not because they read about it, but because they had done it 16,000 jumps. I'm like, okay, I got 300. Like okay, gotcha. Okay, I'll listen to you. You've got 16,000 skydives. I got 300. We'll listen to you. Okay.
What would be your best advice for somebody who is either struggling with or just wants to build more consistency?
Maybe we would attribute that to diet. Let's put an aspect. If I want to get better at my diet, I think the phrase I would use, blanket, would be, don't try to change something in your life or change, like, I'm going to stop drinking this or eating this until you can find a suitable replacement. Something that builds on, like, hey, I want to lose 60 pounds. Like, well, got that, man, but like, it's going to take a minute.
Yeah, consistency.
So that's what it is giving waypoints within it that are real manageable.
Consistency, to me, Ryan, I think starts with taking action. You have to have, and also prior to that is creating a plan. You can't just start tomorrow and say, okay, well, tomorrow I'm going to start this meditation practice with no plan going forward. You might try it that one time or even for a couple of days, but when you have something planned out and you can see whether it's written on paper or you're using an app, but when you have something or some sort of plan, it's a lot easier to adhere to, in my opinion. And and then taking action on it. It has to be a priority if you're actually going to make change. And taking action is making that change.
And find an entry point for give the loose term, but educate them. Find a place where they like to learn. Mm-hmm. Everyone has a place. So that's where, like, real relationships, like, I always ask every class, it's fun. It's like, who's ever been to a concert that they've walked out on? Or like, and then we ask them, best concert you've ever been to. And somebody like, I've never been to a concert. Like, are you crazy? And so you get this point of like, it's serious. These guys are there to go do this very, very sincere thing. But you're like, hey man, I'm human too. And I also can have fun. You're like, well, you fun? Like, it gets to a point where it's like, no. Like, you understand, like right now, it may not be meditation. But if you love music, don't stop listening to music. Eventually, like, maybe it's a tool. Like, music is a great tool if you use it right. And so meditation. So I think there's a lot of aspects that we get to them, and we try to find out how they learn.
You asking that or mentioning that question about favorite concert, this is something I thought about quite a few times. The last time we were in Virginia Beach and I was in the gym with you guys, you asked me that question, and it went on this whole tangent of a conversation, and I never even got to ask you guys favorite concert that you guys have been to.
So oh gosh, which one did you pick?
Probably Tyler Childers. Aaron Lewis is a really good one. Probably Aaron Lewis.
Our first, first date. One of our first dates was
our first date.
Aaron Lewis here unplugged live.
Yeah.
In Virginia Beach. Oh man, I'd seen him live before. He's amazing. And then for my birthday, we had like row 3, Tyler Childers, Sturgill Simpson at the amphitheater. It was like.
That was a good one.
I was in tears, man. Like I'd love to see Sturgill. Some of his songs, man. That was he was an opioid addict, like I was, man. Mm-hmm. Like his songs, man. That was my breaking out of my opioid addiction and everything like that. Like that was a profound, same with Jordan Peterson and things like that. And she's gifted me with so many events that I'm just like,
oh yeah, we saw.
My birthday, we were like. Right dead center, C1 Jordan Peterson for my birthday. That's another awesome. One. So we're like, this is amazing. Like and that's what it is like, yes, you're going to these things, but like we're trying to tie emotion to people and their experiences like this events and going to do something that's worthy, because being human can be freaking awesome. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And a lot of some people are just born into a shit situation, but the ones that we're fortunate, we get to work with, you're like, hey man, you're in control of your own demise. You've got a silver parachute, but you're trying to set it on fire. Like, stop, and sometimes that's what it takes. We have some guys we thought for sure they had some waiver issues, like a lot, gotten arrested a bunch. 2 of them, both SEALs. You're like, yeah, man, because they needed purpose.
Yeah.
They needed community. Right. And that's what so many people find. And I think that if we help them find the community with a better heart and a better work ethic, or a more refined understanding that their work ethic is special. Because yes, you're special forces, you're around these special people, but hey man, there's levels to this too. Like when you get in there, keep kicking ass, because there's a lot more to do. And that's what we keep finding is we find that, we let our dog out. We find that that's, when you educate someone with that much energy early on, like when they get in the teams, they're a new guy first 2 or 3 years, they're just, it's like, that's the time you teach them, And I think that we're catching them early. And I think that that's super important before some of the realness of, this is going to be stressful hits them. And now they have a tool, and they're like, oh, I practiced this, but I wasn't like, oh, I feel now. It's like, oh, like now they make, because we may be talking stress, or maybe talking this, and truth be told, we may be getting the 20-year-old kids like, man, I'm just kicking ass, man. I just got done with cross, and school's good, family's good, and there's no real stress. But they have a real hard work ethic, and they get in, and they're like, whoa, there's some response, because it's real, not like it's a harder job. They're like, I became a Navy SEAL or Green Beret, I can affect, this is important. Okay. I should care what people think. Mm-hmm. And try to carry on to that, where it's like, don't be an angry veteran. That didn't serve anyone. Right. It does matter what people think of you to a degree, and especially for those of us that the first thing that was told to me about is what, just assume that no one's ever met a Navy SEAL. So when you meet them, if that's the first one they meet, what impression did you leave with them? So
that's great advice. I mean, I think anybody who wears any uniform or has any job, I mean, even if you think about your family name, right? I mean, that's a great way to go through life, thinking about the fact that your actions represent others.
Right. Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Kids, right? Yeah. It's and that's the thing is, life is a constant reminder, and it gives you opportunities to express those things you need to work on. And it's it is and this, I'm talking to myself. It's my responsibility to recognize those moments, to begin practicing those times in which I'm like, God, please give me patience. There's a really shitty situation going on here. Here's your opportunity to be patient. That is something I still don't have a handle on all the time. So
what do you do? I mean, I feel like it's a safe bet to say you're better at that now than you've ever been.
Yeah. Like, I think to a degree, however, there's still like, to me, I think maybe it's the fact that there's limitations still frustrates me, right? Like not having a total connection.
Sure.
But I realize this isn't something I can't effort. Right.
So what are some of the things you do to try to bring an awareness to it in real time and maybe alter or reframe?
Right. I think the one thing that I put into practice a little bit more often that seems to be the best and what I'm trying to practice more of is like, because for me, my biggest irritation is when I'm driving. Driving is my biggest trigger in this world, truly. And there's a lot that stems from it, but the point is like, if I get into my vehicle and I actually physically, before I get myself busy and go, I give say something, talks like something, like I tend to have a little bit more handle on that. Like I have mala beads on my vehicle. I do like listen, and that's the thing is like, I really do practice it. But that's the maybe shame in it a little bit, I guess. I don't have a handle on it all the time. I don't. Like when my dogs are with me, it's much better. My wife was with me. I can't say that it is, right? And that is a really not okay thing, right? It's not. Realistically, it's not. So it's a question. I hear you, but the truth is I do not have a good handle on it, and it's not something I'm very proud of, truthfully.
I'm just trying to think through, like, I mean, if we're talking about any behavior change or like, let's say changing a golf swing or a baseball swing, right? If we go on the range and change Tiger Woods' golf swing, he has hundreds of thousands of reps the old way, right? And until he accumulates more reps the new way,
right,
the default neurological pattern is the old way. And so if he goes out on the course for a practice round the next day, maybe he blocks one out of bounds right or hooks one left, whatever. There's an awareness, hey, I'm changing the swing and I haven't accumulated more reps. And so I'm still kind of defaulting to that previous pathway. Is that?
Yeah, I think that there's part of it too. Like, to be super transparent, it's like, we're driving to our gym office to break it down each day. We come home with the dogs, drop them off, and then we drive to a rec center to work out. Like, that's what we're doing. The reality is like, we've removed myself from that driving to the rec center. It's like my wife is now driving. Like, that's the thing is like, and I'm not a good passenger. Like, emotionally inside, I'm like, I don't do well if I'm not in control. That's the truth. Like, if anyone knows me, that's true. Like, I am an absolute clinical fucking control freak. If things aren't exactly the way they should be, like, I have a hard time with that. Even the smallest shit. That's the truth. So driving is something I'm highly, highly skilled in, truly. I was the driver of the Prime Minister of Iraq when the number one most dangerous job in the world was the driver of the Prime Minister of Iraq. That was my job. And I thrived in that shit. I was never stressed out. I slept great. No problems. And so I've been to driving schools, limo driving schools, Ferrari driving schools, Corvette driving schools, off-road driving schools. I've been all over. And so I see the road very differently. I see you should be making decisions immediately without it. And it's like nobody that I know has as much driving as I do other than a professional driver on tracks. And so like I have to but the thing is you put me in the country in Iowa or Alabama where there's no traffic. Man, I don't care, man. Like
right.
And so here's the thing is like, you're right. Every day I step into my truck, there's an opportunity to practice. So trying to find a way to practice it, right? Without being like, let it get me. And it's like, and I drive 12 miles a day. That's it.
Yeah. Well, and I think you explaining it that way paints a much clearer picture too. I mean, anybody listening that has never been in Virginia Beach Virginia Beach has some of the worst traffic in the world, and it is full of people that drive like idiots. They just don't, for whatever reason, people don't follow logic. And as you just laid that out, when you know how to drive at the level you do, and you expect other people to operate at that level, and they're not, that would be extremely frustrating.
Yeah, so it's weird. Yeah, but I get that. Like, I also like I have to realize my mother is not comfortable riding with me. Like, at times, like I've really toned it down. I really have. I seriously have. I really have. But I also realize too, it's me. At the end of the day, Ryan, it's still me. I'm still the asshole. Really. Like, it's not me like necessarily degrading myself. It's like when I'm acting like that, I'm being an asshole. It's true.
One thing I'll stop talking here in a second, Ryan. I'll let you guys close out your conversation. But I think one thing also that does help Jeff is after the moment, after like the climax of the event, or after the anger has subsided, after some of the dust has settled, I think being able to talk about it in a non-triggering environment with somebody where there's really no judgment, there's no bias, you're just really talking about the situation and the fact that there was a really big overreaction, I think is super helpful to just unpack it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So we did that yesterday. We did that last night. Jeff was able to kind of talk about it and talk about what happened and understand the other side of what this must feel like to be a passenger in it. And, you know, trying to apologize to somebody else for just an overreaction. It's just, it was a lot to unpack, you know, but it's super important, I think.
Certainly important to talk through it and unpack it. Again, like now that you've explained it that way, I just can't help but visualize something like Lionel Messi playing with a bunch of 12-year-olds. And
it's wild. Like, but here's the thing is like, it wasn't even that. Like, we're on the road that's by the amphitheater, that 2-lane, early morning. There isn't a car, 200 feet behind us. There's not a car 200 feet in front of us. The hospital's coming out. Lady just T-bones me. Boom. Clear as day. Just runs right into me. And that's happened more than once in this town. And the other 2 times they didn't have insurance. So it's like, right? There's a lot of history to this, man. One time my son was almost killed, man. I went right through a stop sign coming off base, man. My wife at the time with my son, my infant son, coming off base. Went right through a stop sign, Oceana, hit her head on. She was test driving a van. She had no insurance. Right. Wow. And so like, oh, you're under the insurance. It's like, there's a lot of history behind this. It's like, I keep having people's life put at risk. And it's like, yes, I was fucking irate. It's an 80-year-old woman. But it's like, yes, the point is like, why the fuck do you have a license? That's what I'm asking, because she's going to enter. She's in a rental car today, driving around right now. Like, why the fuck does she have a license? And no one's going to say anything about it, but I'm the asshole for cursing this lady in her face. I get right. Yeah. Is it cool? Cause I don't want that someone to do to my mother. No, I don't. But you know who would fucking cursed his mother? Me. If my mom would have done that, I would have been in her ass. So whatever, it's like, I get it. It's not cool. It's not okay. But at the same time, I'm like, this is where I need my space. And I recognize that. And it's shitty. It's shitty that like someone as capable as I am in ways has such difficulty in some other ways. And I could blame it on all sorts of stuff. But in the end, it's my responsibility to be in control. Because I really do believe the old moniker of like, if you're, it's nothing more weak than an angry man trying to hurt someone when they're angry in that sense, I think that's really is, to Catherine's biggest point, that's a complete definition of loss of control.
Sure.
If that's your reaction in the steepest, most heightened sense of your life-saving opportunity, with the gun.
Yeah.
That we're trying to ultimately harness the ability to manage all those tiers of emotion and be able to ratchet them back with you being able to choose how to do that. Because there's multiple tools along that whole way. And sometimes when you get to the top of that stair, man, it's hard to downregulate. So sometimes the mechanism downregulation that works at these really easy, like my days it was kind of rough, but it wasn't so bad. It's super easy to meditate. When someone T-bones you in the middle of the afternoon heading to the gym, it's a little bit harder to downregulate. And I experienced that. And so like I'm still dealing with that 24 hours later, clearly. So
yeah, no, it's a great point. And I mean, it's awesome that you're willing to share that. And I think it's valuable that it's something that can be shared. I mean, what you're describing is the epitome of limbic hijack, right? Like that, sympathetic, overload. And, as you said, when you get to that top stair, it's almost impossible to come back down. And so, for you, it gives you, that driving is an opportunity to practice wrestling back control, from the limbic system, where you may have mastered that in other areas, and specifically areas that other people can't imagine mastering it.
Yep. And I think that's where the frustration lies, but also the roadmap.
Sure.
It exists. If you can ascertain that level of finite, whatever awareness we want to call it, that I do have in those that I do, there's another side to it, but I can't access that same waypoint probably, right? Clearly the same way. So it's like, the capacity is there. So it's like trying to find that reverse engineering.
Yeah. Yeah. Just what are the tools that you've used in other areas that you can apply here?
Right. That's why I'm going on a farm. For real. Like it sounds, it sounds hyperbole, but Eden was a garden. You got 28 acres, man. That's a lot to make something beautiful and give me space.
Yep. I'm right there with you. I totally get that.
Yeah, man. Like that's it. It sounds like I never could have heard myself saying this 20 years ago or 15 or 10.
I never thought I would either, but couldn't imagine it.
What we're talking about, it's like when you really are seeking down regulation, it's like, okay, I lift weights. You get really good at it. You get real good at it. You're like, well, okay, am I limited by what? Well, my diet. Okay, my diet really cleans up. Then when, holy shit, weightlifting gets better. Like, oh, this diet thing's pretty fucking cool. Like, then, there's limitations of that. What is it? It's breath work. It's meditate. Oh, and there's an entire universe of unexplored territory after you've mastered two spaces. Physical, right? Then you're eating. And I'm like, now I'm in a space of like trying to get master those, right? Like that's where we're at. What's the next level? Breathing, meditation, prayer. That's it.
Yeah. I know you guys have, some things you need to get to. I do want to be respectful of your time. So, where can people get more of you guys?
The best place to find us, contact us for sure, is on Instagram. Our handle, Performance First, is really it's Jeff CSCS. It's us. YouTube has our YouTube channel. I think it is. Just look up my name, Jeff Nichols, I believe, on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I believe, and that's where we've kind of really got a good little sort of system, because not everyone can train with us in person. So it's like the social media side is really like where we create a lot of diversity and like experimentation and kind of change this. And it's kind of it's like what's going on now in the bulletin board of Performance First. YouTube is basically every single program that we write, there's an exercise and there's a video associated with that exercise on our YouTube channel. It's like, that's where we're like, we actually literally, where people don't hear us, and I'm being literal, the way we expect it to be done is that, because that's how we can measure it. Right, in that video. So it's very, well, I can do it this way. It's like, no, the video is how we measure it. So it's like, that's what our expectations are, literal. And so we see, that's what I'm saying, guys come in and they're like, oh, you've already practiced it. So it makes it easy. So that's the best place, our website is performancefirst.us.com. And that's where, we kind of, when we do have our classes and online stuff or in-person stuff, that's where to seek that information. But then my wife is, on her Instagram is Fitzel.
Fitzel 22.
FITSOL 22.
We've got a Great Dane right down between.
Yeah, we have a 110-pound Great Dane right here. So
July is not on Instagram, huh?
No, this is August right here.
Okay.
Oh, July, August. August is 110 already.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's
damn.
What you dude?
Yeah,
he's a base here, but that's where we find us. So we're. If you send an email and it's well written and thorough, we can tell the difference. Like we would definitely get back to you, right? We get that. So we try to cover all areas to get you guys educated and informed, but we're not going to handhold you. We certainly will not.
We'll put links to all that in the description so it's easy to find. And I'll just add, I said this earlier, and it's true that I would and do pay for Jeff's programming. You can get those programs on the website. The videos are phenomenal. You guys do such a great job on Instagram as well. And, you mentioned kind of the experimentation and tinkering, and I've picked up so many little things from you guys on there. So, definitely worth the follow. And I think that's it. Any other closing thoughts from you guys?
But yeah, no, we like looking for updates, I guess, from us is like, because of our new property, our new gym, all that stuff that's coming along. Like our business and what we do is inevitably going to evolve. I know we definitely talked about you and about like doing like some clinics and conferences and stuff on the farm and things like that. Now that you have your own property too, that's like a lot to catch up on. So it's like, we know, and I think that's one of the cool things about the business too. And I know with you, it's like, letting your business evolve naturally when you're comfortable with what you're telling people, and that's why I was so excited to have you say, "Hey, man, I'm doing my podcast." Like you and a good buddy of mine named David Rutherford are both like doing your podcast thing, and I'm like, man, like I don't attribute value to the number of followers. I do not. I just real knows real, and so I appreciate you for that. Not like this isn't just me like, "Hey, thanks for having your podcast." Like I genuinely mean that. Like you and your wife, there's very few people in our sphere of friends that really understand that our passion is something that it comes with how we live. Like and I know that's exactly how you and your wife live too. So it's super cool to like bounce stuff off each other. And when you're like, "You should read this book," I'm like, "Yes, I should." Or whatever it may be, right? Like, yeah.
Yep.
For sure. So
yep. No, it's and that's mutual. I mean, we feel the same way about you guys, and really happy to hear that everything's going as well for you guys as it is. And I know you guys are going to have a lot of success in Alabama, and
I'm looking forward like the rest of your guests for like on the Move the Chain podcast. Like that's the thing is like it's also just like I know that the guests that you're going to have on are people that I want to listen to as well. So that I'm literally looking forward to that as well.
Well, we'll connect offline. I might see if you've got any recommendations or want to make some intros, but I'm excited for that part of it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Joel's a good one. Joel's brilliant. He has his own podcast called Just Fly. It's like brilliant. Like, so like he's so, I don't know, I say like his, how do you tell his being his way, but he's such a connected.
Yeah, he really
he's the
is.
most connected, like aware coach I've ever met.
He teaches running, in my opinion, from like an emotional connection standpoint.
It's to watch him coach, man, is like it's a gift. Like I'm saying, I mean this. Like I mean literally. If you are a coach and you get to like stand over the shoulder of like Louis Simmons for a year or whatever, like to put in your like your dude. Like there's a bunch of people. Cal Dietz, definitely. Joel Smith, man. Like if you're open to like emotion and connection and how that he is good, man. He's one of my senseis for sure.
I may have to find out when he's going to be at your next class and see if I can stand over his shoulder and watch.
Yeah, man, his family awesome. Too is so lovely. Like they just God dog, he's in the man. I love that man. He's such a good human. Like I don't know what to say, man. Like he's just such a good human being.
I'm happy for you guys too that you're in a place where, like you said, you're past the hustle, and now you get to say like, this is who we're working with, right? And you get to find people like Joel, and you get to say, if the person is not at that caliber, then we're not working with them, we're not bringing them in. I mean, you can be very protective of your sphere.
Yeah, because
that's a really great place to be.
Right? Like I know, like you met clients, you're like, this person is deserving of my time. We meet so many of them, man. Like in the sporting world, it's like you meet like 1 in 10 or 1 in 20. You're like, that dude, like that person's got the heart, got the spirit. These guys that walk through the door, it's like 8 of 10 or 10 of 12. And you're like, whoa, man, like that. You're talking limbic resonance. Like it's serious. Yeah.
I really enjoy the work that I get to do with police, fire, military. And I think that's what it is, right? I mean, when somebody's going to run into a burning building or, put their life on the line, there's a certain set of values, there's a certain character that has to be there in order to sign up for those roles and want to excel at those roles. And it's really rewarding to work with those people.
For sure.
Agreed.
For sure.
Good way to end it.